welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 1/21/26. Before we get to anything, I now open this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one. When one is helped, all are helped. Let unity join us all and make us stronger. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones to also let healing energies in, to let them love us and nourish us and bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent and mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. And before we get started, anybody asks about the hood, this is the new version of this hat. So you'll start to see some of this. I know there's a monk thing going on right here with this, but this is, we can thank a friend of ours for sending this to us, and it actually works much more efficiently than the hat. So,
But you've not tried to channel, so you're going to
I've
do a
not.
test drive to see today. Can you do
We're
that?
going to do a test drive, and I do have to say, if a being cannot make it through this, there's probably a reason why. Either they're allergic to silver, because it's woven silver, or you're getting hit with P2K, or it's blocking a frequency. Here's in the other end of the spectrum, the nefarious yield end of the spectrum, or it's blocking a frequency that a certain being still cannot get through because of the yield. They're blocking some good things too. Remember, we talked about that on the warnings before the spells episode. So now, what I wanted to say was, while I was going through some, I will take these off because those are obviously reflecting. It looks like googly eyes. While I was going through our archive, which is based on at the Lifting Presents on YouTube, by the way. If people want to check that out, it's not complete, but you're going to see a lot of the earlier episodes on there. You're going to see some numbers missing. That's because we either don't associate with who was on there or who was channeling, or they just had to be deleted for other reasons. So don't be alarmed there. I am not finished with it yet either, or I just haven't found it in the drive yet. So as I've been searching and sifting through the old stuff, but going through those, I came across an old title variation called "Putting a Finger Up to the Wind." So this is what this is entitled. I believe this is number 5 of this particular title. So I went with the aftermath of Isaac's passing, conflicting agendas, abundance, beings under contracts. That's how I bullet pointed this. And I'll start out with a little bit of the aftermath of Isaac. I noticed it was subtle at first, but then there was this dramatic shift in how can I put this? Just the way things were operating from day to day, where you started to continue on how you did things and they just didn't seem like they were the same anymore. They didn't seem like they were quite right. And I kind of figured that was like a timeline shift, which yes, that can be equated to that. And also a lot of deja vu, timeline shift, Mandela effect, timeline shift. But on top of this, I did notice that a lot of beings, after a lot of galactics, even ones we didn't know, did know, started acting really weird. And some were out of fear that the same thing might happen to them. I completely understand that. That's not what I'm getting at here. Forest people, same thing. We're not getting at that. Other beings, at first, some really woke up. They're like, "Whoa, my God, I'm glad that wasn't me," kind of thing. But it started to dramatically change things, how things operated. And you may have heard us mention this before that sometimes you get hit with things because with other beings, so other beings galactically out there could bust them. And we called that the cheese concept. where like the Mosin would come in and grab a particular party and strip them of their contracts here on Earth, or with the ICC or what have you, or if they weren't supposed to operate, or if it was a military unit that, like the one we called the bedbug faction, where they used bedbugs to gather DNA and whatnot. They were using fake insects and whatnot. And it's because the reason they snuck around is because they weren't supposed to be doing that anymore. And I'm not for one saying, oh, the cabal is on its way out, et cetera, like the propaganda says. But there are dramatic changes and shifting and changing of the guard happening. That I know. But the thing of it is, in the aftermath of this, I noticed a dramatic downswing in abundance and finances. I noticed a dramatic downswing in protection. And I thought this was actually quite, I don't want to say interesting. It was more obnoxious, is what it was, or it is. And I'm going to say this part here, and a lot of you could probably relate to this. And if some or similar things have happened, please comment below. But I got severely fed up with some of the answers I was getting from even our benevolent soul family. It was just the answers they were giving were off, and the answers they were giving were atypical. They were falling more into read between the lines mode than they were direct answer mode. And it was like a greater contract had been placed on them. A greater restriction had been placed on them. Even Hajamal, when my mother was trying to figure out something that happened in the aftermath of the conference, where some ETs were screwing around and they had messed around and other beings wouldn't remove something from Joanna's energy field on her face. And it took my mother and I a little bit to chisel it off. And we found the beings responsible from healing, or they were posing as healers. And they were these ETs that were doing something nefarious, and the Mozen and Anakam took them away. And these lime green colored ones. And I said, why was this around? I mean, why can't anybody answer or give us a straight answer on if there's a restriction? And negating, I know if people are going to say, no, they don't, the spirit doesn't tell you everything kind of thing because you wouldn't learn anything, you'd be enabled. I get that portion of the answer. That negating that portion of it, this is already known. The other one is, if you do this read between the lines thing enough, it really becomes a burden after a while. And I realize they can't tell you everything. It's one of those God only helps those that help themselves. Fully understand. But negating all that, Hajamal said, oh, this is a lesson. And he knows that that's a major trigger point for me. And I don't have very many triggers of that nature. That I do because I consider the New Age movement of everything's a class and everything is school to be BS. It was part of the system set up to where you would tolerate anything negative because it's a lesson. Yes, character building, I fully understand this part again. But yes, are there life lessons? But yes, but a lot of these other things that you were basically supposed to accept, kind of like a Job kind of situation, were just that to get you to accept negativity.
Well, an overage.
And overage,
I think
like
that's
I
the
said.
big deal, the
And the big deal.
overage.
Yeah, and the overage.
Because, we're gonna have lessons, we are gonna have, there will be challenges, that's all normal, and you're
Mhm.
correcting things from your past balance, that's normal.
Mhm.
But what we're talking about is when you lump it all into saying it's a lesson, then it gives the allowance for overages that should not be tolerated.
Yes, yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Exactly. And what ended up happening is I just got furious because I found something in my own back that I didn't see, like somebody was camouflaging it. And my mother removed it. And I went through the energetic withdrawals, like you heard us talking about in quite a long time ago. And that hadn't happened to me in a while, which means something was there a long time. And I got furious and I said, guys, I'll annotate this. I said, these types of contracts where you're restricted in your language, these types of read between the lines, these are all conflicting agendas. I'm putting it under the no conflicting agendas declaration. And I went down a very long list of types of contracts, types of actions, types of not necessarily verbiage, but not having a real conversation. And I realized different beings in different frequencies might have slightly different perspectives and perceptions on how to handle something. That's different. That was not counting that. I was accounting for that. It's more like when you know you're doing this and you're not giving the complete set of information and you're not really giving any form of context except quantum. And I differentiate. If they're giving it in quantum, they're still telling you, by the way, intuitively and in quantum light language, they are still telling you. So that one I left out. And I guess there's a lot of people out there that can't interpret quantum light language, but again, they are still telling you when they do it. Synchronicities, I suppose they are still telling you, but in this also there's negativity, synchronicities. Both they use song titles, all that. You know what I'm talking about there. But when it's repeated and they know what your heart says, it gets really annoying. And I went down that entire list. Don't act like this and turn into a tester.
Well, that, and I think, again, one other big concept that they have to be aware of is there are lines that get crossed where you become complicit
Yeah.
in a domination and control that you say you don't want to be a part of.
Yes.
And so when you actually go out and contractually, for example, people who are putting their head above, people who are looking into different things,
Mhm.
people that are coming up into knowledge that's important to share. And because there is, let's just say, a contractual agreement that says they should not be progressing like this, then even those that say they are benevolent for your highest good now are forced to follow a contractual agreement to dampen you.
Mhm.
The problem with that is, okay, when you don't know what's happening, you just don't know that's happening. But now people know it's happening. And so now you've got a problem where you have humans that are quite aware of what is going on and quite aware when their abilities and everything are being dampened, and quite aware that it's being done by those that say they are in support and by those that say they are in an agreement, want humanity. So now you do, whether, no matter what they say about being benevolent and caring and cheering for humanity and want whatever, you've now become complicit in a domination and control, and people will not forget. So you have a problem now. If you want a storyline where it's just thought of that everyone above was benevolent to you, and you have all these people now that are starting to realize I'm being, whack-a-mole by even people who say they care for me, that's not true. Then what are you going to do with those humans? Are you going to be forced across the line to cause even greater harm to them? And say that you're benevolent. So there's lines being crossed.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of
And
lines.
plenty of those lines being crossed. And so there is now a big problem. Let's just say a big complaint. And I think enough humans have reached this point that, and have outwardly, protested, let's just say, that it is starting to be realized that, wait a minute, maybe we are crossing lines that are becoming very bad. And so the goal is, again, to partly have a discussion on that today, because, humans will remember. And again, there is a false story that's trying to emerge. It is not true history. It is the storyline that they want people to believe. But there are plenty of humans that know that that storyline is not correct and just would like to see the truth of it all come out.
Mhm.
You have this in a lot of communities. The SSP is one of them. You have this in a lot of communities. For us, we like to actually bring out what we believe are the contractual agreements that have been signed and what's going on, and now the difficulties within those agreements. So it is starting to become a serious conflicting agenda. And so we want to talk about that, and we want to share that, because again, lending your voice to saying this should not be occurring, right? Isn't that energy, that thought process is actually important at this time. And again, even some of the, let's say, whack-a-mole type situations, things that have been, like he was giving an example of something as his back, me something as well. We are not the only ones. Well, when we talk amongst people that are kind of like-minded, just how was your week or whatever, what everyone's realizing is the exact same things and are seeming to happen all across the board. And so that's important, again, that this type of thing be talked about and people talk about their experiences, because I think what you're going to find is a lot of the same tactics are being used across the board. And unfortunately, those that you may be dealing with that are benevolent are either having to stand back and let it occur or being forced to participate to have it occur. And that is a truly huge conflict of
And
interest.
it's a huge, huge conflict of interest, and also in regards to money. I know that, Spirit traditionally is not very good with finances because Spirit doesn't need it. They don't need sleep, eat, all of it, breathe, all of it. Here, we are on Midgard, earthly plane. Technically, one could argue we don't need money here. Of course, before anybody says this. But we are currently embroiled in a system that galactic forces and spirit should already be abreast of, should know completely about, having been us, having been alongside us. And then to say, oh, no, you should be focusing on, but you shouldn't be focusing on money. You cannot focus on money. That's so greedy. You can't. For one, whoever does that is negative and trying to guilt you, or they don't get it, or again, they're embroiled in a contract that they don't want to be embroiled, but yet here it is. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you get that kind of response from guides saying, "Oh no, if you try to charge for doing sessions or something like that, oh we're gonna walk away. Bye. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, because we live here." I knew somebody that had guides, and we spoke on a show a while back about basically the finances in the spiritual world, where they had to be fused together. It's a yin and yang. You need them both here. It's like a Venn diagram where that's that bit in the center. That's where finances and spirit meet. That is here on Midgard, on the earthly plane, right here. And the thing of it is, though, and also I keep being told change my verbiage. Oh, money. That is focusing on money. Well, that's a conflicting agenda, or being against your own, going against your own manifestation because of the evil money coding. I don't believe there's any such thing as dirty money. There's just dirty people that have cursed aspects of it, but we can uncurse it and use it to our advantage, for one. And two, these beings out there and spirit should already know these things.
Right, and they
So,
do.
yeah.
And I will tell you that it's a convenient excuse. So I have to say that again, when this comes up,
Some of the galactics
Mo-
earn moon and money themselves.
well,
So,
true, it's out there.
Yeah.
There is trade and there may be a, let's say, a basic, let's say, income living level. But then if you want anything else, there's got to be money exchange, things like that are going on too. That is very real out there.
Very
But what my point is for you to think about, where it is over the top, is that many people are focused on what it is they're trying to do to elevate things. Absolutely. And then knowing that if I focus on this, then the abundance, let's say, to help me keep this going should be showing up. And they are doing that. This is my point. People are doing that. It's not being hyper focused on money. But when you bring up, but I need the funds to be able to do this, when people switch that conversation to, oh, you're focusing on money now, I'm telling you, they're not good.
there's some kind of
There's
contract,
not
or they're not
good.
good. Yeah.
But there is still a lot of oppression to keep certain conversations from hitting the public domain in a large quantity. And that money thing is part of the, let's just say, whip beating that is so far not true, because most people are genuinely trying to focus on the contribution of information that they're given. But if you want people to go to a conference, you want people to do this or that and the other, you want people to create and make something. Well, you can't just create it out of thin air. You need finances to either get the supplies or do whatever. And that is a real deal. So when people take and turn a conversation, please think carefully. And
Discern it, please.
discern it, and do not tolerate. If you know that that's not really what you're doing, then don't tolerate that type of conversation. Put it out there that it's wrong and bring it up to, scream it out to as many people as you can that it needs to stop, because it is an oppression that truly is happening right now to a lot of people. And they will always try to turn a conversation to make you somehow feel that it is you, that you're not doing something correctly, that you're not manifesting correctly, that you're not doing these things. And in truth, a lot of it right now is just a lot of the contractual conversations, how they're told to re-talk to you in order to make you still think it's you when it's not, and you need to stop the conversation and be putting it out there that this is uncalled for, and this type of domination and oppression to individuals that are trying to advance conversation needs to stop. Again, this is across the board for a lot of people right now
Yes.
that this is happening to.
A lot.
Um,
I've gotten it in sessions too. A lot of people are,
absolutely a lot. So we want to have this conversation today to be open and honest, again, putting our finger to the wind, what is really going on that is affecting people on a day-to-day basis. What are the energies and what is going on? And is it being noticed, and what is being done about it?
and also, you have to figure out what is also your own shadow work and what is this outwardly overage. In a session I did with Bjorn, there were one past life that came up. The second one came later, and you guys will recognize both of these. One was Ivar Ragnarsson, and the other one was Jose Gaspar, the pirate, or Gasparilla or Gaspari, back in the 1700s. So what happened was I found out with Ivar, some really funky crap happened towards the end of his life. Where he had just acquired a bunch of resources. I was having all these weird thoughts in my head of me, being in a spaceship somewhere and just acquiring resources, kind of like how the Anunnaki had people acquiring gold and precious metals and stuff like that, and how the Cabal acquire resources, or like a pirate would. And where he acquired his own castle, he took parts of England and then the whole part of Ireland. I found out he even cursed Ireland, and a guy named William shows up quite a while later, digs up his body, looks like it had never been decayed at all. He burned it, then people could settle Ireland after that. And Ivar even had his body looking out over a place that was vulnerable so that he could push that curse even into the afterlife. It's like, I was like, okay, this sounds like something that my oversoul would pull. What needs to be done to to fix this? My oversoul either went really good or really decrepit doing something like that. And I found out he had some really weird thoughts that went against even his own family, where he even went after some of his family members when they mixed with other DNAs too. So I thought that was a little odd for a Viking, but it was like, it doesn't mean something didn't corrupt him at one point. But
so
yeah.
shadow work is always
Yeah.
important, but again, we're talking over and above shadow work.
Over and above shadow work. And also the thing with the pirate, that again, the acquisition of resources that had to do with finances, Spirit like flipped it, tried to brick wall it and say, okay, you did this here, can you be trusted to have this here? Again, still does not count for normal bringing in income to make certain things happen. This was, again, somebody was taking this, turning it into overage and making it above and beyond. That's the difference I'm trying to show you folks. You can't be like the whole thy will be done through the whole thing. No.
Right, you
No.
must discern, and complain.
Bitch and complain as much as possible. I know people in the New Age movement are trained to just let it flow or surrender the flow. I'm going to go against that and say, and then the metaphysical community, and I'm going to go against that and say, bitch, 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 because even Isaac would say that if he were here. And he did say it while he was alive, too. He said, bitch and complain all you want.
And again, who do you bitch and complain to? Well, you bitch and complain to those out there that are part of these contractual agreements
Mhm.
that are now causing an overage of oppression.
Yeah,
That's who you could address your letter to. If you like to write it down, write it down. But you make sure,
I sent a beam up, strong one
but I'm
out there.
just saying, you just make sure that this is who you are focusing that energy toward. And again, it's being noticed more and more, and it is being heard. And so the question is, again, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is, can we force contractual changes that are for the betterment of humanity?
Yes.
And in our humble opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree, these are the types of things that must be looked at and corrected now, because humanity is like an elephant with a very long memory, and will not go out into the galactics in any sort of trusting way, knowing that the storyline is a lie, knowing how they have been treated. It will not go well. And I think right now there is, it is having to be truly thought about from the other side of, wait a minute, maybe they didn't expect humanity to progress to this point where people would truly be able to see and understand and point some of these things out.
Mhm.
But here we are.
And I found out that the forest people and Hodgmalt and the rest of them, and Levick and the rest of them, actually triggered that with that word lesson. They knew I would go berserk over that, and they did that to trigger a change that I would word things correctly. Even if some forces are expecting you to word things correctly and ask the proper questions, I love some of these guys to death, but that particular move was uncalled for, in my opinion. What happened now in the aftermath of this? This is what I found actually quite fascinating. Um, I went when I went to bed that night. The dream sequence that I ended up going into was I was in a courtroom of an old style wooden courtroom, the ceiling fan, the whole bit, something like you'd see out of Matlock or something like that years ago, or Night Court or something, the style, that old style, or a little town somewhere with a little judge and a little couple lawyers, things of that nature. And went into like a small town, and and this room was packed full of people, like that scene in Dark Knight where it was the Rico case and you see all the mobsters all over the place. This is what David Purcell and I compared it to, because this is what it looked like. And there's normally the people you see on the left side facing the judge are the defendants. Usually these are the plaintiffs. In this case, it was flipped. And in some states and countries, some things are flipped the way the design of the courtrooms are. That's common. But I've seen it go from country to country, kind of like the roads being on the reverse side, like England, the United States, kind of like that. But with this, then like in England, they face each other. So I've seen courtrooms like that. But with this, all our soul family on one side here. And I see people taking the stand one by one. I remember Elena Investa took the stand. I remember several forest people took the stand, including Hajamal, including Fuma, Seymour, and the rest of them. Then there was a ton of people on the other side. I mean, out the door and around the corner kind of thing. They were pissed. These were from I saw some from dogmen to a couple forest people to insectoids to lizard people and reptilians, reptoids, all of them, tall people, short people. And those are the ones going rabble, rabble, rabble over on the other side. And people are ripping each other a new one across the center aisle, like yelling at each other. Well, I got up on the stand, and I remember going through an entire list of bitches and grievances pretty much, and directing it at that other crowd, basically saying any beings that are under these contracts, and basically just gave the same argument we just spoke about right now. I'm not going to go draw it out because you just heard it from both of us here now. And the judge basically went, okay, Mr. Jacobs, you're here only for a limited time because you're basically astral projecting in from or bilocating from Midgard, earthly plane. You're in this galactic court, blah, blah, went through the whole sequence and testify the best of your ability. And if your avatar can't fill it in, your oversoul will fill in the rest of the details. If there's any life, mission, et cetera, in there. which that made me a little nervous, but because Oversoul likes to commit treasonous acts, as far as I'm concerned, like mind what the paradox is and is not in the same body, SSP. Uh, if the basically the one Hajimal talked about, the infinite questionable choices episode of the World of Sasquatch, but because the Oversoul can be retarded sometimes, and you have to audit. But this wasn't one of those cases. What needed to be audited were galactic contracts and spirit contracts, bounties, all these things. The judge went through the whole list, saw things that I had not said. It was the Oversoul added in the rest of it, saying why I was actually there to begin with. And I remember rattling off some things that I don't remember. But the other side was pissed off. And there was some screaming, yelling, spitting going on. I mean, it was nuts. And some of the guards were going, okay, dumbasses, if you don't stop this, you're in contempt kind of thing. And you must quiet down so we can do this. And there were guards like in these like almost like football uniform type of padding going around, with a big like staff like that, like a taser type thing, ready to, when people would get rowdy. And so this was a galactic court. They looked like you were in the jumpsuit just with football pads on and a helmet and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
And it was like,
it's
yeah.
a funny
Uh,
aside. So we get up in the morning and when we have something unusual going on, we try to share it. So I did not have the courtroom, but I kept going into the exact same dream sequence all night long. Same thing over and over. And what mine was I kept picking up cell phones. And it's like I had a Q-tip with Vaseline or something like that. And all of the cameras and stuff, I was like making it so you couldn't see or hear. I was like not allowing. And then, Chris was like, well, you were actively not allowing these proceedings to be heard.
we be heard, not allowing these proceedings to be heard, recorded like you would in a courtroom. They always do the courtroom drawings and stuff like that because you can't film a court case like the Epstein case and all that stuff. So like when Ghislaine and all that, they said, why didn't you film? That's why.
It's
This
wild.
is why.
Yeah, so it's wild sometimes when
Yeah.
we wake up and we are, obviously somehow working together during something, but we have slightly different contributing conversation toward it. And that's always wild when that
And
happens.
cell phones and wallets in the dream sequence are in your energies. People generate this tulpa in dream states where they'll pick up their phone and wallet that's ID. That's like your signet there. People are encoding and decoding that as their signet. Also the blocking of the camera means is you're blocking someone's sight, someone else from hearing it as well that you don't want hearing it. Just like in a dream sequence where I reclaimed my wallet and tried to reclaim my wallet and phone. And these guards came up to me one time and went, oh, get ready, he's going to fight, trying to gaslight me and something. And then when I put it down and hid it and camouflaged it, they didn't know who I was. So obviously I was seeing a wallet and phone. They were not seeing a wallet and phone. They were seeing something else, and then they didn't see it. So that was from my perception point. Phones and wallets are basically ID in that realm. If anybody dreams about that, let me know. But that is essentially that. If you see your cell phone and wallet in a dream state and you see some creepy stranger in a dream or you're in a creepy place, camouflage it. Basically, somebody's trying to look for your ID and your what you would consider identification. Mask it. That's a Dreamtime invasion if it's out in the open. Or most of the time it is anyway. Because I was going through a space where people were being corralled into this corral, and I had to go up to a window to check in with a clerk or something like that. And they automatically were geared to fight with me as a form of I was being shown what targeting was happening. Energetically, I was hitting a tripwire, going above a targeting, going above the dominating, and being targeted as a result. So masking that lens is a form of camouflaging it, even though she was putting goop all over it. It's still the same metaphor. Just so people know when they're in dream time, to please mask those two things. If you have an ID card, anything, mask it, put it in your pocket, do something. Just completely obliterate it out of the sequence. So if you lucid dream it. So I thought this was interesting. Also, if I could recommend something, you can fire your guides at any time, like we said in past shows, and the Force people even said this, Levick said this, Hajmal said this. What you can do as a starter to this if you want to get rid of any yield-based anything, if you don't want any of them following the yield, basically you revoke any and all beings that are following the yield in any contracts of any kind. You consider that a conflicting agenda to your own. Make it very clear that's what you mean. Then watch what happens. Now you might have beings that have been helping you with finances. Isaac was one of them. I found out he was acting like an agent or a spokesperson out there to try to bring sessions, to try to bring to have people purchase products, things of this nature. And all of a sudden, it happened, and after he passed. So I put two and two together, and I noticed he was doing a lot more protecting, bullet taking, and actually uh, business promotion that I actually gave him credit for. And that sucks that I did not notice that while he was alive. Him and I had epic arguments over crap, and they were all unnecessary. So that I didn't know. He kept that from me because I would have said, wait a minute, I can do this on my own. What he was doing was cutting through certain crap that I was unaware of, certain overage that I was unaware of. So many people would say, well, now the training wheels are off. No, I had no training wheels. I was completely unaware that there was an interference. There was like somebody running interference. And so I just thought that was quite interesting to find that out. So that's all for this part. You know, the abundance, beings under contract, conflicting agendas. That's really all I had to putting a finger up to the wind. And also the energies are, oh my God, it going into out of the solstice. They are some of the weirdest, partial stagnating and weird muck shifting around that I have seen in a while. And I want to say one thing before I go into channel. I did notice as of today, 1/21/26, that there was a weird Mandela effect that popped up as I was looking at one of the meme groups on Facebook. Or it wasn't a meme group. It was meme. It started with that. Okay, what's basically it was like any superhero that's underrated or something like that. And I answered the question, Fathom and Witchblade. If people remember that Top Cow comics from the 1990s were quite popular. I looked up the spelling. I spelled it with a PH in the word fathom, Phatham. And then Witchblade is Witchblade, which that one has not changed. What changed was the word fathom to the one that you would actually think of, Fathom. It used to be fathom. I fathom something like I can fathom or comprehend that. It was the other spelling that was fathom and Witchblade, but also fathoms as in depth. I believe was also with an OM on the end of the PH one. I've seen that also with F as well, but I remember it with both the P. I remember it with the PH, but my memory got garbled, and now I'm remembering both PH and F and OM and AM. So I can tell I'm in a timeline jump partially in and out because I'm remembering both, which obviously both did not happen in the timeline I'm sitting in. So that means we're on a cusp or precipice. This tells me that it's a Mandela effect in the making, and my memory is shifting along with the timeline shift. That's what that tells me. That's how I interpret it. So I was meant to see that. I just thought that was quite interesting. Actually, let me give me a minute. And it'll be really telling with this hood on who I'm able to see. Because I remember in the session that I had, I saw Elena and Vetsa, and I didn't see too many others when I had this on. Uh, let's see. I know somebody's pissed that I'm wearing it, which that's actually a fairly good sign. Wait a moment. Okay, true benevolence with no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. Okay, I gotta see who it is, please, if you don't mind. Okay, Elena? Yeah, got it. Okay. It's hard to tell, and I can tell I'm getting kind of dizzy because my brain is now it's blocking out, and I'm not getting any V2K hardly through this. I'm hearing the yammering and whining of my ear tinnitus, but I'm not hearing from the
Well,
BQK.
and whether you can feel it or sense or not, when you started this, the amount of pressure force that just came into this room, I find that very, very interesting.
Mhm.
Because it may be because you have that on. I don't normally feel something this strong trying to push its way through, like literally I'm just kind of sitting here actually in a little bit of
Oh
amazement.
yeah, yeah, and it's something's really pushing. I can feel that right here. Is this forest people maybe?
Something's real. Well,
Hmm.
I don't know. I just find it interesting because I'm
Hmm.
like, wow, this is very interesting. Something's really pushing hard
Yeah,
right now. And it just happened, not while we were talking, but when you decided to go into channel. So I find the whole thing fascinating.
okay. Who is trying, before I go to the channel, who is trying to push so hard that we're really feeling it right now? Because I'm getting a pressure, an immense pressure actually. I'm getting in the chest, which tells me the blood vessels are constricting slightly, and I don't particularly care for that particular frequency. When people get the weight on their chest, folks, and I'll say this real quick, what that is the blood vessels are constricting at a dense energy. That's why when people are having a heart attack, it feels like somebody's sitting on their chest. Constriction of blood vessels. That's why they called those instances of demonic oppression pressure demons. Like that's what the Filipino people said, and the Islander people said, where it felt like somebody was sitting on their chest. It's the same effect that's constricting the blood vessels, from what I understand. And microwave weapons do it because it's deoxygenating the blood, constricting blood vessels. That's why people feel dense when they've been hit with a DO weapon. So. It's the same difference. You have to detoxify from that. So that's what I was able to figure out what was doing it. No, Elena, are you wanting to speak or is it someone else? Hmm. Oh, you can shush now. She goes, well, maybe if you didn't look like a monk with a squirrel sticking out of your chin. Well, if you had sticking out of my chin, it would look like I ate it. So no, you said it. I didn't. Okay. See, Lanyalosians are slightly abhorrent to facial hair since they think it's weird. They think they like the thing going on. Uh, with maybe a mustache here. They just think it's weird to have this. So, okay, that's it. Uh, and they said I look like a mix between Ivar Ragnarson and Jose Gaspar because they both had the same type of facial hair. So, all right. Okay. Elena, before you get into what is causing the pressure, please? Somewhat the hat is. Okay. Uh, because of its pushing a lot of this pushing on the energy and it's pushing back. Yes. And there's other beings trying to push in, but they can't quite do it. And they also don't like the conversation as well. They don't like the information. So we'll make this quick then. Benevolent Elena only, please. Believe it or not, this hat itself could be a channel or an edifice because of the silver lining. No pun intended in this. The silver lining of it is that it can be used for that good. But back to the topic at hand. Yes, these contracts and treaties are quite annoying. Forgot to mention the treaties, the galactic treaties, like your Angels Unaware rule, which branch treaties are actually accounting for some of those, which we've spoken about before, whereas you can take it off of a set rule and make a branch off and actually start blurring the lines between the Angels Unaware rule and your normal sets of conversation and meetings and instances where we would run into each other in public. Now, with getting that mad, yes, the Forest people did do that intentionally. Hajmal specifically thought it was brilliant. Since the Forest people and the Anakam deal with the Senate, along with your Simar and Fuma, they felt it necessary to break the whole Analam or Analam uh, uh, calling, given what has been happening in recent days, well, long after Isaac's unfortunate passing. Some of their people have died as a result of this. So yes, it's not that they wanted revenge. They wanted a creative way to get through to the rest of the galactic community to speed things up. Valiant Thor knows that his family screwed up and one of his relatives is in jail as a result. And all this was mentioned in court that he does not remember. But uh, Valiant Thor is having to speed up some timetables and begin some things a few years from now in the around 2028, between 2028 and 2034, 35. But it doesn't mean that it's a disclosure date. We would never do this to him or you guys. But there's some shifting in a lot of these contracts and a lot of the what is it the what you call the cheese concept. This is why when he tried to revoke this before, he did it in all dimensions, expressions, timelines, etc., frequency, seen and seen, heard and heard, felt and felt. No, 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 no. Well, he had to be more specific. Unfortunately, the wording, the legal jargon, as you would say, is this is a conflicting agenda, this is a conflicting agenda, which means overage, 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 overage. And this is what busts people, is when you declare it conflicting agenda and overage. So this is what needed to happen. Just so we don't use up a whole lot of energy, I will go into questions.
So again, I think, would you agree with me that more and more humans are truly noticing what we're talking about?
Absolutely. There's people in quiet and in silence and in private that are having the same conversations and yelling to the sky like you guys. There's a lot of them doing this. They just don't publicize it because they're either embarrassed that they got strung along somehow, or like carrot and the stick. That is really big right now, by the way. Carrot
I
and the stick
believe
is
that.
huge right
Yes,
now.
I do believe that.
I would revoke that wholeheartedly and say that is a conflicting agenda. Any instances of carrot and a stick, it doesn't matter how minor or major. That is, excuse me, rude. Keep your tools and your thingies to yourself, please. Thank you. Now, no poking things at the eyes and everything. Anyhow, I would not do this to you. Now, in this instance, carrot and a stick is huge. Watch for this. If you are getting promises, that, not necessarily that things will get better, of course, that will happen, but the generic versions, like the get well card versions of it, like hang in there, things of that nature. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and then 10 years later, hang in there, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's a carrot and a stick, but in an opposite type of thing. Whereas uh, you're always going to be co-creating more and more suffering. Yes, there's a little bit of life suffering, of like the life like happenstance series of unfortunate events that are normal. This is the bloated version of what you guys would experience in life, to where it is completely unbalanced. Yes, a certain what you call karmic instances from other lifetimes. Yeah, they were supposed to stay in the other lifetimes, but because of the false incarnation grid, they bled over. We already know this part. If you steal a loaf of bread, in one lifetime, maybe you shouldn't have your head cut off in another. Things of this nature. It's completely unbalanced. The whole concept of karma is bunk in that area. The hammer of judgment kind of thing. What I'm saying is the instances where you just keep getting promise, 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 promise. Do not accept any promises. We never give any form of promises ever because we don't know what the next day is going to bring. We know we can kind of chronovisor a little bit what happens on Midgard, but it's a little bit ahead. We go day to day, just like you. Even though the time differential is slightly off, given the times of year, it syncs up more sometime around Halloween and Christmas, the solstice. But on the same note, just like how it's morning for like breakfast time for you, it's dinner time for us. Different. I'm just saying that we still know what's going on. We know about money since we need to use our form of it. We do work. We work with the MDTF. We are on a ship. We are also, if we want to pay for extras, he always likes to say, we do work. We work with the Velodians. We work on board ship. Bree Jalis is our captain. but we can leave at any time. Ours is strictly not necessarily voluntary. Well, it is and it isn't. But we have a house, we have our needs met. But if we want all this other stuff, we also have to work for it. We also have to do our thing. But ours is different to where we earn when we are there. And there's no hirings or firings. I suppose there is, but it's slightly different than how you would expect. And it's not a communist thing where it's the same for everybody. No, 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 no. I won't get into that too much. What I will get into is instances of carrot and a stick are what the biggest scam going on right now, and the biggest one still, even to this day, the crown king that your canon disclosure people like to believe are times for disclosure and timetables. I can only give you approximations as to the attitudes of different beings and to what they wish to do. I will not curse you by basically saying this will happen and then it doesn't. That is a carrot and a stick. I will never, and we will never do those things. The galactics that are doing crap like that are selling something. They are trying to manipulate and hedge bet. And let's see who falls for this one. Let's see who falls for this one. And your government agencies are doing the same damn thing with your mind control technology, the V2K and the like.
Right, so I think again, and what oftentimes this carrot and the stick will do will cause people immense anxiety.
Oh, yes, most
Immense.
definitely.
So again, just another thing to think about. Am I in extreme anxiety because it's like somebody else knows something and I don't? Because what you'll end up doing is not trusting your own discernment.
Yes.
It's a way to get you to not do that. And that's partly what's causing the anxiety. Is it really what they're saying? And you may be scared, it may make you scared or whatever, and then you stop trusting your own discernment.
Yes, and that's the whole point of the exercise. So you follow someone else, follow a savior, wait for disclosure to happen instead of changing your own life. He always says he saw people say, "Well, I'll just wait for disclosure. I'm fine. I'm good. No, I'm good." No, you're not good. Do not wait for something that may or may not ever come. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying you'll be waiting a while to the version of it in which that has been put in your head. It's not going to come about the same way you have in your head. That's all I can put. And also beings that say, "Oh, I can't say this, I can't say that." Some things are true. Spirit sometimes will say this because it'll screw up something here if they blabbed every single little detail. Of course, you're not going to be told every aspect of your life. That's asinine. But friendly warnings about things, yeah, we can still. We do this. We do this sometimes. Sometimes we're blocked doing this, but we're not going to say every little thing. And of course, we're not going to carrot and stick the crap out of you. At least my group. I cannot speak for some of these other assholes that want to hedge bet negatively. Beings like such as ourselves and the forest people and other sometimes will hedge our bets as to how to proceed in a good way. So one could say that is a good agenda that has a good backing to it. People like to say agenda is negative. They've put that kind of Grigorish energy on the word itself, like it's an evil word. Oh, that's an agenda. That's an agenda. Everything's an agenda. Everything. But does it suit you? Does it conflict with you? Or does it not?
And the other thing I want people to consider is what are they actually doing when they think they're just sleeping? Because,
work in your sleep always, always, always.
I think so. The body may need to rest. The soul's not necessarily resting.
Never rest.
And so it's important to know also that for many people who feel like they're like Fred Flintstone trying to do a car, but their feet are just going and they're not getting anywhere, that you really need to sit back and think that there could be a whole lot more going on, that you are contributing a whole lot more than you actually think you are, because there's a whole part of your existence that you're not remembering necessarily, unless, for example, like what happened here, where we get glimpses of something's going on, during this time frame because of what we remember, what little bits we remember. So it may be for those that have the ability to sit and to contemplate. I say that because it really may make you feel better. It really may, if you're able to pick out any of that, you may feel like, wait a minute, I see a bigger picture of my purpose and my mission. And okay. You know what I mean? Not okay, meaning accepting this. And that brings me to my last part. Who do you complain to? Because if you're gonna send your psionics, you want that message received by the people who need to receive it.
Mhm.
So it's almost like a petition. Like, where are we sending our complaint petitions to so they can add them up and see how many people are really reaching out because they're sincere problems?
Complaints, bitches, and grievances go exactly where you think it would, to our own version of a judicial system. So that's what he was seeing. The Galactic Federation and GF court system is quite vast. There are levels for pretty much every bitch and grievance and complaint that you could possibly think of. There's also a lot of bureaucracy, like you saw in Jupiter Ascending, and also the joking version of it that you saw in your Futurama, where the one character goes, requisition a form that I can fill out to have these people removed. Yeah, that kind of thing. It does get that anal. They were making fun of the Galactic Federation with the whole dupe thing, like you're being duped. Yes, there's a lot of dupe because they have put the whole saviordom on that thing as well on the GF. And the GF are they guilty of over testing and doing that in different factions? Absolutely, everything you've ever heard about it. And you need to unite yourselves long before that union could ever happen anyway. But the point is, your bitches and grievances are heard, even through the dampening and the dumbing. They are heard. Now, with the psionic dampening going on, but the thing of it is, it would be much louder to us without it out there. But what's going on is, ever since the thing with Isaac, the courts have had to take a really hard look at what's going on. When one of us dies on Midgard, it sends up a red flag or a flare in the air, so to speak. And when that happens, they ask why and how, like anything. But this is really looked at. What in the holy hell happened? Why was he there where he was and what was going on? And the Oversoul told him that he was there to really mix things up and really make life difficult for the Yield and make life difficult for all the contracts and treaties that are out there. And him dying on Midgard, or should say getting infected on Midgard. He did die somewhere else on Paradisia. But that happening, the incident happening there, you know how much bureaucracy is involved in this kind of thing? How much, well, you would say paperwork is involved when like you'd say that like a police report type of thing or medical report. You know how many factions were involved in their own governments having to fill shit out? That alone is huge. That's the bureaucratic side. You know how many people looked that direction when that happened from several fronts? Of not only just from an emotional standpoint, but just a purely soul standpoint, a lot. And some didn't care, some did, and there are some even in the Forest People community that didn't want the union with the Senate, and don't want the everything opening up because they remember what happened in the old world during the war times. They don't want it again. But I can guarantee you it won't happen again. But what I'm trying to say is there were a lot of eyes opened as a result of this. And this started a process, and then you wording it correctly, and I'm not going to be an ass by saying correctly, but intuitively knowing how that had to be said, even though beings know what's in your heart and what's in your soul. Their bureaucracy is so anal. Like with your government and judicial system, you have to say and know the right things. Even with your IT, they expect you to know the right terms. That's how they are. Like IT people that you've known, it'll give you that look that when you don't say the right terms, oh, did you mean this? That is what their courts out there do. Excuse. This is what was going on. And finally, the right words were hid. And those that take the call out there, and yes, there are those that pick up the call. Even your Randy Kramer mentioned that, where he said there's some that can pick up a call out there. And that's what happened. You are not the only ones to ring their phone. And When this happened, they went, well, shit, this is bigger. We are going to have to take all that has been, all the evidence that's been gathered, all the bitches, testimonies, affidavits, appendices, all these things, appendixes, all this, gather it and present it. And that's what he saw part of, and that's what you were blocking others from here listening to that and taking pictures and whatnot, because they knew he was psionically connecting, and that court did not want your three-layer agencies to hear what was going on out there, because some of the bitches and grievances were about them as well. So it involved them and how much was being allowed. Well, I shouldn't say allowed because of a certain, there's only certain experiences. There's certain experiences that have to happen. It's not necessarily just allowed, but I'm not going to be one of the wordsmiths. They didn't want some of their crime scene that people such as himself can actually feel and see. And the canon and narrative things were a big one. Who are they actually communicating with? Who are the channelers communicating with? That was some of the bitches and grievances that were in that court, by the way. This is actually being thought of. Who is telepathing whom and why? They're not going to legalize telepathing. That would put them in a bind as well. Humanity's come too far. You either have to lock down the entire thing and not have any communication, or you have to open up further. They are wanting the latter. This is where it stands.
Right, and I think what again is important.
Oh, Earth is not going to just go away. They know this. So that's
Well, right, because I think at one point it was just thought of this like outpost with problems. Like, okay, yeah, we're not really
the bad neighborhood,
right, just kind of like
the hood.
and now all of a sudden it's like, holy smokes, I mean, it really has the attention has been caught by people. So I think again, putting your finger to the wind, we just keep thinking that, certain energies can't get worse, and then wow, here they are, you know what I mean, getting even worse and harder for people, as he was saying to his surprise, from the first part of the year that you were hoping things would really begin to ease up. But it really, but it's what we're talking about. It's like this extreme overage. It's this extreme, especially because I don't know if there are more people that are noticing than they thought would. I'm not sure what
Yes,
that is.
this and also some people unfortunately can't let go of the other shoe dropping concept as well, where between 2020 and now the years have been just utter shit. So they're going, okay, what crap's going to happen this year? You're getting some of that too. You're getting that egregorious blob too, where he even saw a meme yesterday where somebody was going, oh, it's been quite a year. Karen, it's only January. So people are going, people are already starting to anticipate, is this going to be a shit year or this is going to be a shit year? No, you can't do that. You get rid of the other shoe dropping. I know there's trauma from 2020. We all get it. We felt it and we still do. It was unfair, evil, and there has been no justice served. And yes, fight for this. Fight for this. But at the same time, don't expect every year to be worse than the last one. That is also what you were feeling.
Right, and I think you're bringing up something again that I was going to bring up as well, but let's reiterate it again if you don't mind. So again, you have to fight for your rights, and this is what we're talking about.
Rights are earned.
Fighting for your rights, complaining about the overages, complaining about the obvious now conflicting agendas, and remind them that we're not going to forget. Our souls are never going to forget. God forbid we reincarnate. We're going to remember this.
Yes,
you're
will.
Not going to forget how we were beaten and treated.
You remember the ages past of all the mistreatment too.
And again, and they have to think, wait a minute, I don't think we want that.
No, you don't want human. We've tried to explain. He's explained. One of the bitches and grievances was humans will hate you.
Yes.
Humans will hate you to death. You do not want this. You have to clean it up now. You have to clean this up now and assist in the cleanup.
Right. And the people that are starting to realize this are in quantities that you did not expect. So you can't really wait any longer, or what we're saying. But fight for it, and then You have to let it go. And you have to be amongst now other human beings. And you have to daydream in the positive aspects of life that you want to now take hold. So it's about informing so that you can take a moment to write your letter of complaint and send it off.
Yes, do so.
And then to be able to look at the news and say, nope, no more war, nope. And now I'm going to turn the channel and I'm going to see all the positive things that people are doing to build their community. And I'm going to spend my energies, lending my energies to seeing that more occur. So again, this is now about being balanced, and being balanced isn't just about being on one side. You're not going to be all angry all the time and complaining, but you can't be also in joy and ignoring some of the problems. So you have to be in a balanced mindset of being able to go to both sides, right? Stand up for your rights, but you must have conversations with like-minded people if you can. Laugh, be in joy, find things that are funny, co-create how you want things to go, meeting up with people, seeing families enjoying themselves at a park, whatever it is. You've got to spend some time also now putting out what you want for humanity to be like, not just being in a constant complaining framework.
Yes, it's one of those write your congressman type of thing.
Yes.
Yes, but not in the propagandish and carrot and a stick sort of way, which is what some of your government stuff is.
Right.
But in this instance, the bitching actually it pays to complain in this. You don't have to do it loudly and violently, but whatever works, I suppose. But as the force people would say, or in some instances, some people would say the louder a man is, the more profoundly he is wrong. Yes, in a more hatred sort of fashion. Yes, but to send those psionics out there that you want this change and you want it now. It's like that commercial. I want it's my money and I want it now kind of
Right.
thing. That's exactly it. You nailed it right
And
on
you
the
don't
head.
have to help, but it's a strong, this is unacceptable. This
Yes.
is not right. This is unacceptable. Very strong, strong. And then let it go. Love your cat, love your dog, watch the funny videos, lead life still in a positive way of what you want humanity to look like. And then you will feel, I think more, you still need to be grounded. You still need to be balanced. It's still very, very important. But I think it is important for us to at least have this conversation in acknowledgement that it really is going on. If you don't, if it's not affecting you, fine. But this is really for all the people that are feeling it, are sensing it, are understanding it. We're acknowledging it too. And again, we always try to provide a framework, even though a lot of people wouldn't understand the complaint line, the framework of how you put that messaging out there that this must stop as far as this overage.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. I do have to detach. There is an ordinate amount of interference building. You are absolutely correct in this. It pays to complain, but discernment. You will need this more so than ever before, especially if you do this type of work. I I want to say that it gets easier and it does the more you discern, but at the same time, somebody is out there throwing, well, everything, including the kitchen sink. So, especially the further up the ladder you go, so to speak, to say euphemistically, when your head's above the clouds and you are grounded at the same time, they do not like this. Let's just put it that way. If you are both a kite and the kite holder at the same time, you hold the high ground. Let's just put it that way. So, thank you and blessings from our group to yours. I know. Go. Thank you. Goodbye. All right. Yeah, that they were the other bad guys were a little annoyed that I had this on. But Elaine and Vessel were able to come through. I even saw their dog looking at me. So he looks like a German Shepherd or a wolf with like a horn on his nose right here and on the forehead, little ridge, like you saw some of the Star Trek dogs where they had some of the little ridges and like that Pekingese did in the Enemy Within episode. That one. They have animals. That's where they got that look. That's where Roddenberry got the look from. But I even saw their dog Laz looking at me. So he was like right here. like standing in front. And animals will stand in front of ill energies that come in, and they take on a lot of our garbage when you don't want them to, but that's unfortunately why they're here. That's another episode for another time. But Joanna, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I hope, for those who needed to hear this, I hope you understand that we commiserate with you, and hopefully you've got, consider the plan that we put forth as far as to what to do about it.
Exactly. And this was more of an impromptu recording. Actually, when I was looking through the old episodes, that's when I got the idea for the next putting a finger up to the wind. So, thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel. My Chris Rest Jacobs on YouTube, but go to at The Lifting Presents on YouTube. You will see all of those old episodes. It's up into the 80s at the moment of this we record this one. I'm trying to go as fast as possible, as fast as the computer and the internet will allow me to go to get them up there, re-editing them. You're going to see all the new banners on them. You're not going to see any of the old Patreon stuff on there, any of the old intros, outros. It's all going to be refurbished. Some things went missing. I found maybe some edited versions of them, and I had to redo what I had. But I found a lot of it. So you're going to see all of it from over the years. If you have any complaints on that, let us know, because there might be something I missed of a being that we no longer trust or no longer trust the information of. If you spot this in any of those old episodes, please let me know. Me being the editor, I will go back and take a listen to it. If it's something that I overlooked somewhere, it will either be removed or edited. So or redone as a new episode that you saw us doing, like with the Dream On and the financial episode and all those. And the Let's Play Chess and all those that we were redoing. We can always do it again. So thank you, everybody. I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye bye now.